Hi, I'm Patty.
I'm Kim Michelle.
And I'm Jill. Welcome to our podcast. It's a great day to talk.
Because honestly, what day isn't a great day to talk?
So join us in our conversation.
A Great Day to Talk is brought to you by St. George Design, offering complete website design, social media management, search engine optimization, Google and Facebook ad management, and many other digital and print marketing services. stgeorgedesign.com. And by Richardson Brothers Custom Homes, third-generation builders who have been building custom homes in southern Utah for over 25 years. They will take your dream home from concept to completion. Contact richardsonbrothers.com. The April Gates Group and Zion Canyon Real Estate have been specializing in helping Southern Utah clients buy and sell property for over 18 years. We can help you too. Call or text April today, 435-632-8869, 435-632-8869.
Hi, everyone. It's Kim Michelle, and welcome to A Great Day to Talk. I'm here with my great friend, Jill.
Oh, hi.
And my other great friend, Patty.
Hello.
And my other great friends that you may not know, Miss Jill's husband, Judd.
Hello.
And that's how we refer to him, just Jill's husband.
Yeah.
No, that's not. That's so not true.
I didn't know his name was Judd.
Yeah, that's not true. And Patty's delightful husband, Riley.
Oh.
Jill's husband and Patty's delightful
Adjectives.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm not delightful.
Well,
you are sometimes.
so many
Sometimes.
other adjectives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
like-
gosh.
I'd
I
like
didn't
to-
know I could get in so much trouble by using a positive adjective to try to describe people.
Oh, I would like to give Judd a shout out, though. He ran his 12th marathon this
Yes. Big
yeah.
shout out.
Yay!
Yeah.
Nicely done.
And this one he ran for me, right? So I don't have to.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
yeah,
for you.
That
yeah,
is
that was
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, so thank you for that.
11 was for Patty.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank
That's
you. Thank
exactly
you.
how we
10
love
was
it.
for Riley.
No, I want 20.
You want 20?
Yeah, I want the 20.
Oh, then,
Man.
then I get 2 and you get.
No, I'm fine. I'm good with one.
One's
yeah.
good for you?
Yeah,
You
I'm
don't
totally.
need to do it again.
Yeah, not for me.
No.
Yeah. So we want to welcome you to the podcast. We're really excited because this is the first time that we've had the husbands on together in a segment like this.
2 of
we
these.
know that we have one husband who isn't here, Scott.
Hi,
Shout out, Scott.
Who
Hi,
would,
Scott.
Scott.
He
Go ahead
would
and
so
comment
love.
now, Scott.
Yeah. This is exactly
we-
the show he would
Sean, do we have
so
Facebook
want
comments
to
on?
be on.
Yes.
Can we do it?
Yeah. He would so love to be on this
on,
podcast
Sean.
with us. So, honey, we know that. And down the road, we're all 6 of us. We're going to give Sean, our IT guy, a heart attack here.
Mr. Producer.
Just figuratively, not literally.
We can't do 6.
By bringing 6 in here and having you all on. But we want to welcome our guests, of course, who we will treat like family as we have this podcast today to talk about really, we named this podcast A Great Day to Talk so that we could talk about all the things that we talk about, Jill and Patty, and oftentimes with their spouses when we get together and just talk and have conversation. And we can't think of a better way to do that than to talk about some of the also social issues that sometimes don't get brought onto the podcast, but that we do talk about. And so that's how we're going to choose to dive into today's conversation. And I love what we've decided to label or title this, which is the humane life.
Party.
I knew it was
the
something.
humane party.
I'm so
The
opposed to
humane
party.
party
It can
or
either
the-
come.
Yes.
Human party.
Who's
Party.
Who's going
I
to
didn't-
be
I don't even know what a
Instead of
party
the right
is.
or left. We
Yeah,
just wanted
so-
to be the human.
It's a good thing we're not the Humane Society.
Well, we want it to also be humane in nature, right? So sometimes our discourse and our conversation, especially in today's climate, doesn't feel very humane, generous, and kind with each other. And I think part of the purpose of this conversation is to say that we can come from different perspectives and have different ideas, and at the same time still have a powerful discourse on those and learn from each other. And really, that's why we get together and talk.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to experience that, and we hope you enjoy, and we ask you to join along in the conversation. And if you strongly disagree with any position, that's great because at least you have a position.
Right.
That's fabulous. And if you strongly agree, that's great too. But also recognize that maybe between your strongly agree or strongly disagree, there's somewhere in the middle that maybe we could meet. So that's how we're going to lead into the conversation. Who wants to present the actual, what we're going to talk about?
Well, Riley,
Go
I
ahead.
think this
One
is
of our
you.
guests.
Oh, now I'm scared.
No, just
No, Riley came to me a couple weeks ago or several weeks ago, and he was just like, I've got to talk. I've got to talk about these things because it was bothering him. And as the more news he watched, and then he was reading articles and things that were just really bothering. And I'm like, well, let's get together. And so we did tonight. And I think he is the perfect person to introduce what we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, one of the things that there's multiple things. We talked
Right.
about several of them tonight, but
Yeah.
I think we're going to
for
stick
a minute.
with the
But
immigration tonight.
one of the things that was driving me crazy this last little bit has been immigration. And to be fully clear about this, I don't disagree with immigration. I feel like everybody deserves an opportunity to be free and live a full life and have opportunity to do whatever they want to do. I really do. And in the last, I'm a general contractor. In the last several years, I could have used help like crazy. Anyone would have been helpful. And I especially appreciate the folks that come across the border that do come to work for us here. They work hard. I've got some really great people that I work with every day from south of the border, from South America, that they keep their head down. They work hard. They're very appreciative. They're charming and loving, and they love their families. And so just to begin, I want to say thank you for your help and dedication. However, we have a problem where we have a lot of migrants coming across the border right now, and they don't really have a place to go, and they don't necessarily have a path or a plan. We can't handle the magnitude of the people that are coming across the border right now, so they're being stuck in, for lack of
Ungodly.
better words,
yeah.
it's just not good. I mean, some
Not
of it's
great
okay,
circumstances,
some
yeah.
of it's really bad, and I just can't even imagine. I mean, one, again, to go back, I can't imagine parents sending their kids on these massive journeys without their parents trying to find a way to become American, to get a full life and
Yeah.
be free of
Tyranny.
Tyranny, yeah.
Yeah.
However, recently we had what was kind of, looks like, what'd you say?
I said, thank Sean. He got Facebook.
Thanks,
comments.
Sean. Good
Thank you,
job.
Sean.
I don't have a microphone today.
Sorry.
And I'm sorry because whispering in a microphone is still in a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, so recently we had what was called a political stunt by DeSantis, who went from Florida, picked up some folks in Texas, and took them to Martha's Vineyard. And the thing that was maddening to me about this is Martha's Vineyard is part of a sanctuary city. They're part of this place that is supposed to be welcoming to immigrants and embrace it, and they're for it. They want to make sure. Ultimately, they've been part of the process of taking down some of the
Statutes of
the
as far
things
as
that
immigration. But-
Trump and other people have put together so that we wouldn't just have mass flooding of immigration.
But however, are they a sanctuary doesn't mean come in, da da da. It just means we won't have ICE
Come
here
and take you.
to
Right.
you're not we're
To
you can
remove
come
you.
here, we're not removing you
Yeah,
or
and-
arresting you.
Well,
And
that's
it's
but
really
that's not true, really, because they did remove them.
Well, I know no. I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying like sanctuary in general. Does that mean anything more than this is a state where we're not going to arrest
and
you
it-
if you're if you're
It allows
undocumented?
people who are in those cities who may be illegal immigrants to report crimes and to be able to feel safe
Right.
because they don't have to hide
Without
their
being
status,
arrested
without being
or
Right.
yeah.
potentially
It
turned
do-
over
it
to
doesn't
ICE.
necessarily mean anything other than that.
That's correct.
It doesn't mean anything less than that either.
Well, no, I understand that, and that right there, Judd, is such a huge problem with non-documented or undocumented persons here in the United States because they won't report a crime and they are vulnerable to crime because of that. And so we need areas where we need safe places where we can come report domestic violence. And you're not going to report that if you're undocumented. And so that's going to still occur. Right. So I guess my question, Riley, is does sanctuary mean come everyone, or does it mean if you come in, if you're here, we don't have those laws that we're going to
deport you if you report a
crime.
You know, I couldn't define that. I would say that generally they're saying, hey, if you come here, then no, we're not going to report you or send you back home or, you know. So I don't know if it's as specific as don't come here or if you're here, we're not going to report you. But,
yeah.
But either way, I want to say I have no problem with immigration. I do. We're all immigrants.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us
Yeah,
are.
Right.
for sure.
So,
Well,
but
the majority of us are.
Well,
yes.
unless you're
Navajo.
Native
Yeah.
American.
Yeah, unless you're Native American. Right.
Yep.
Unless you're Native American, you're an
Majority of
immigrant.
us are
Yeah.
immigrants.
And even those guys were immigrants once upon a time.
Right.
from somewhere.
Everybody.
Anyhow, the topic for me, it was really like, hey, you know, this is a shot across the bow. We send, no, and I say we, it's not me, I didn't do it, but DeSantis sends 150 folks, immigrants, to Martha's Vineyard, and they were well received. They were taken care of and fed, and everybody got hugs, and it was all great. And then they put them on a bus and sent them to Cape Cod. You know,
to a facility that had better ability to take care of that 150 people, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And
Where-
families and
Yep.
Yeah.
So they can facilitate it better, and honestly, and they ended up in a better situation than they would have been if they'd just stayed in the
in
at
Texas.
the border,
On the border.
in Texas. So, but the idea in my mind, and this is the part that made me upset, is that we're looking at it as a political stunt when I think it's just a shot across the bow. It's like pointing a light at something. Now, we talked a little bit about the fact that the idea behind what DeSantis did for him may be different than the way I'm looking at it. And it might be different than the way a lot of other people are looking at it. There's got to be a solution. It's obviously not just shipping, hundreds of people to Martha's Vineyard. That's not going to work. However, I think if they said, hey, we should take our percentage of folks and leave them here, keep them here, and take care of them and give them jobs and do that rather than just ignore it, vote yes, we should allow immigration to happen. We should take out, remove laws that prohibit that and let states like Arizona and Florida and Texas handle the problem because they don't have to think about it unless it comes in, sneaking in
their- yeah,
somehow.
Comes into the
Yeah.
airport.
Which I mean, I understand that concept. I understand where you're coming from. Is sometimes we have to the squeaky wheel.
You have
or
to
whatever.
see it. You have
Uh-huh.
to
Yeah.
see it. You
You
can't
don't
know it
understand it,
until
like,
you're in
holy-
it. Yeah.
Right.
Which is why there was so much criticism over whatever anybody in our administration who hadn't been to the border to see what that was like.
Right.
So there was always criticism over that. You need to
Even
come
when they go to
see.
the border, they look at it the way that they want to look at it.
Well, and
And-
we've talked about this a little bit
Well,
in other
everybody's
issues
gonna do
around
that.
that we have. That's just about every issue.
Mhm.
People that are in charge, it's not their life, it's not their world,
No.
and they make a quick visit, get some photos, shake
Mhm.
hands, nod heads, and then they're done.
Mhm.
And so that becomes a dangerous way to run anything.
Right. Whether it's as much up at the Washington, D.C. administration or down at the
State level.
or the
local
city
level.
or the school district level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it gets a little deeper than that too, where you go, okay, you've got a lot of different things that you got to resolve, which is how to solve that problem. How do we how do we facilitate immigration in a way that
That it's
that
humane.
that it's humane, but they're legal, that they're here and they're documented, that they're paying taxes and helping pay for the school districts and helping pay for their insurances and things like that, because that's a big deal. That's really the fine line between yes or no. It's like, but at the same time, it's so difficult for them to cross the border and become a legitimate American,
Right.
a
Member
US
of a
citizen,
community. Right.
that they end up going in hiding. They don't show up to their court dates, and they don't do these things because they're afraid that
risk.
they're going to end up getting shipped back.
Right.
So, we want it both ways. I mean, well, I shouldn't say we want it both. I want it both ways. I want people to be here. I want them to be allowed to be here just like we are.
Right.
But at the same time, they should be, paying their dues and taking care of the things they should take care of, so that their kids can go to school and get health
Enjoy the freedoms
benefits
that we
and
do.
enjoy the freedoms that we've got. There's a price that comes to it, and we're paying it, right?
Well, I would
know
say,
that I am.
but I would say a lot of them do pay, and we're unaware of that as well. I mean, most
true.
workers who are undocumented have some type of documentation that allows them to work because the government requires that. So they have a Social Security number that they have from somewhere. So they're paying, they have money taken out of their checks. They're paying into that, but they cannot receive any benefits. So how do we define what is the price they need to pay in order for them to pay enough to have the benefits to be able to stay within the United States? I mean, I think as long as you have laws that regulate legal immigration, you're going to have illegal immigration, because legal immigration, even as it's designed, is going to be set up to serve a predominantly certain section of the population.
Absolutely. It's expensive. It's time consuming, travel.
And we want to bring in who we, from the types of countries we want to bring people into.
Well, we certainly hope we can bring in good people who will be a positive influence in the communities that they're in.
Which is interesting because
But how do we define that?
Right, because in the United States
We don't get to
have,
guarantee the
right,
people that are here.
and we have plenty of people who are not positive influences that are here.
But we should
that
ship
have
them,
nothing.
That
we
were
should
born
ship them
here.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. If you're an asshole, get out.
Let the good people
Maybe
in
in
and just ship the
exchange.
bad
Swear.
people
There's
out.
going to be a
We can
special sensor
Yeah.
that you're going to have to go through that's going to identify whether you're
Like
a
at
good
the
person or a
airport, they
bad
stand
person.
up and it's like,
exactly.
oh, yeah, bad.
Right,
Bing.
right.
Mhm.
I mean, really, that's humans are humans, right? And it's just like at school. We get our students come from all walks of life. It's not like blueberries in certain places where you can pick through the blueberries and get rid of the blueberries you don't want. We get to share in this with our kids, right? Our kids are who our kids are, and they come from all things.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing when you're thinking of regulating of course we want all the very best people, and yet all the very best people are still the people that are bad, have made bad choices. I don't want to say they're bad, but they've made bad choices. You know what I mean? It's like there's no,
Yeah, and I
The
don't.
vetting
I don't-
process.
I don't
Yes.
think there's a lot of people that would argue with the fact that we want good people to come through and we want to make it easy for people to immigrate to the country. The problem is that right now the system is broken. Right now it takes you years upon years to get a green card. And there are so many hurdles for a person who wants to legally immigrate to the United States that it's an almost impossible process. And you have all these migrant workers who want to just come for a temporary amount of time, work, and go back to their families in Mexico or wherever. And we make it so incredibly difficult that it's far easier to hire a coyote and get across the border. If you're talking about
Which
illegal
immigration
Far
that way.
easier,
It's scary
And
to
that's-
say
scary
that
to say that that's
the
easier.
easier route.
Yeah, but
so
it,
really, it comes down to we all know we have a problem. Why isn't anybody doing anything about it?
Yeah, Judd, why
aren't
do you think that is?
politicians- Well, because it's a political it's a
Agenda.
political agenda that gets the base all ginned up. I mean, I don't think Republicans are ever going to legitimately fix immigration as long as it's an issue that will continue to win them elections. Because if you make the immigration problem go away as a Republican, then then you have to find another issue that gets your base as fired up as immigration does right now.
So what are the Democrats doing to change that? What's the big policy? I mean, besides just
So, I mean, right now, I mean, the question really is, what did Republicans do to do? I mean, Republicans have had a couple of different opportunities where this is their huge issue, and they didn't do anything about it. I mean,
because they were the majority.
yeah, I mean, there was George W. Bush, who had a Republican Congress and who had an opportunity to do it and who tried to do it, and was blocked by the Tea Party back in 2009, back in the, and then Trump, who wanted to build a wall, had a Republican Congress and had all the votes that he needed to pass comprehensive immigration reform, and they didn't do it. And now you have Democrats in power, and Democrats, yes, do have both houses of Congress and do have the presidency, but they still need, I mean, immigration isn't an issue that you can solve with a budget reconciliation bill where you only need 50 votes. This is one of those
You're
where
gonna have
you
to
need
have
60
Republicans
votes. You
cross
need
the
10
aisle.
Republicans to come across the aisle, and you can't even get 10 Republicans.
I'm curious
now.
they're under 10, less than 10, because I was just trying to name in my head who
Might those people
might
be?
those people be,
Mm-hmm.
and I can only think of Mitt Romney.
Well, because you can
Or-
already see when you speak,
I don't know. you'd
even
probably
if you
start
make a
thinking like
rational
Rubio,
argument.
maybe, and
Mhm.
I mean, there's enough people who would go. If there was enough delivered that was rational, somebody delivered a rational plan.
But what's the counter when any plan seems to be presented? There's never a
from a side.
I have a quick question.
That's why we're gonna
too,
have our own party.
Humane party.
the Humane Party.
My quick question is: do you think that it's to a point where if a Democrat presents a comprehensive plan, that Republicans won't vote for it just because it's Democrat? Is that what you're talking about? We can't get 10 Republicans to
right
vote
now,
for something.
Republicans won't vote for, and I'm blanking on what it is that Liz Cheney proposed. I think it was, it's the Electoral Count Act. That's what it is. Liz Cheney proposed changes to the Electoral Count Act, which is to, basically make it so that all of the things that we had the January 6th controversies over, like whether or not the vice president is purely there to have a ceremonial purpose or whether he actually has the powers that,
It says
Donald Trump thought he might have. It just says that we're going to line this out and make sure that everything, and it's because it's Liz Cheney. There are Republicans who
who
won't vote
has
against
crossed the lines.
because Liz Cheney
and
Cheney
who
is a
lost
Republican.
and who lost
Yeah.
because
Yep,
of
because
that
she
very
crossed the
thing.
line.
We
because
have
she
some
crossed
pretty
party lines.
good Facebook comments. I was just going to say, I can't see all of them right now, but Todd Richardson said George Bush was the president almost 20 years ago. Scott Poland, I agree with you, Riley, that immigrants should have all the blessings other residents of this country have, but also pay the same prices as we talked about earlier. And then if you scroll down, March Vineyard resident calls police to report a Hispanic in the neighborhood not operating a leaf blower. I did see that.
Thank
like,
you,
hey,
Todd.
excuse me.
That's-
Thank you, Todd. Todd
Always good.
Richardson. Yeah. But that's true. Obama did have the majority in Congress for 8 years.
It wasn't 8 years.
Obama?
No, it was 2 years.
2 out
It
of
was
8.
the first 2
Oh,
years
as
that
far
he was in
Yeah,
he
office.
was
two
the
out of
president
8.
for 8,
He
but
had-
he had
Yeah,
the,
right.
the
It's
He had
majority
majority for
vote
2
right
years.
too.
Right.
And so
And actually,
his platform
can't-
was healthcare.
nobody
so.
can do that in 2 years because that
know how
election, you're already in the election cycle. I think that's part of the problem with the way the political system is set up, the way that it's set up is that basically you're in election somewhere every 2 years.
Right.
So if you can't get something done within
Like 12
2
months.
years, then you're not getting anything done
Right.
because then everybody is so concerned about their political livelihood
career.
Right.
that nobody will venture anything, no one will do anything
Which,
that
again,
would
leads me
cause for
to-
moderation or cooperation.
That's the whole thing about term limits as well. Career politicians, is that really effective?
I don't know that it's career politicians. I think it's more politicians who are way too beholden to special interests and to
party lines.
to the far fringes of their party. I mean, you have, and this is on both sides, you have politicians who have to pander to a base in order to get elected in a primary.
Right. Yeah.
You have, and it's on both sides.
And you're right.
Absolutely
It's
on
like
both
good and bad
sides.
people. You know, there's all sorts of politicians, but some of them go that way, and they get so far away. Like you said in the beginning, their fingers are off the pulse of the of what's really happening with the people they're trying to govern. Right.
And it becomes their livelihood now, right? That's what they do. So
Which
I think I don't know that it's term limits. I think that's a legitimate conversation. I think PAC money, I think that kind of thing is the bigger conversation. Because I think that if you weren't beholden to those lobbying groups who helped get you elected,
Well, and,
then
the way things are now, with the way that, I mean, up until the Supreme Court made it so that you can't contribute directly to a candidate, they did the super PAC thing, where you can do unlimited contributions, and corporations are people too, and we're giving money to all these super PACs. Now it's all dark money. You don't even know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And all of these ads are coming from PACs that might be, I mean, who knows who they are, instead of even being a politician.
It seems so awful. I as I coached in the high school for years, if I had a vendor that I ordered, uniforms for the cheerleaders from or whatever, and then they gave me like a little present because I ordered, I could get fired for accepting that present. I can't have that present. Like, we have those kinds of laws. Like, and I'm not making major decisions.
No.
Like,
Well,
contrary
a cheer
to what the
uniform is a
cheerleader-
very major
Yes, that was
decision.
It was
it's
a big
black and gold today, girls, not gold and black.
Yeah. But like that, I would get fired, and we've seen it in the state of Utah where coaches have accepted something and maybe even unknowingly, and were fired because the vendor can't give prizes or
Whatever they
bonuses or bribes or whatever you want to call it. But yet we can at that
at
level,
the very highest level.
The very highest level.
Well, they're not supposed to. They're not allowed
But
to
who's
do that. But they just
who's
do.
monitoring that? Like, why?
The government.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, that
again.
makes total sense.
Again, very bottom line, we have this festering hole of all these issues.
Okay,
And
so
the Band-Aid for each one of these issues just keeps getting placed instead of getting to the bottom line. My angst about it all is that how in the Sam Hill does that get fixed when what we see is so out of our control? We know that we start at the local level, and at the same time, how does that get fixed without a total
You
implosion?
have to vote.
Well, the
That's-
voting,
right.
of course.
And I think,
Well,
And that's a grand.
And Scott
like, you
said
know,
it. Scott said too. A couple down, he said the best thing we can do is vote.
Yeah.
And that's-
I,
and
I
that's-
think we're going to be surprised. I think this midterm election, you're going to see a whole lot more young people come out and vote. You're going to see younger people. You're going to see women. I think that
there's been enough
there's been
change
enough
for
that's
those
going
two
on in the
demographics
country
that I think. I hope.
and I don't know that I'd totally trust the polls this time around in these midterms elections, just because I think there's a shift kind of happening right now. And I mean, young people have, over the last 10 years, more and more young people have been coming out to vote, and I think that trend's just going to continue, which is
they
a
love it.
really good thing.
Well, and it's interesting
Absolutely.
because our son, who is 21, listening to him talk about politics is crazy. He knows all the stuff that I mean, I wasn't even 2 ounces as interested in politics at his age and able to talk about things as he is. And I know that his friends, his peer group, they're all the same way. And so
That must happen once they leave my classroom
that,
and
because that's
before
what I
they
was
turn
just thinking
21.
too.
Right.
No, I was just trying to figure out how I could add that in, because
Right.
it's like that shift, that transition. I'm hoping. Oh, sorry. I'm hoping that that progresses through.
Right. Well,
Forward.
and you're right, Kim Michelle, in high school because they're still home and what they do is regurgitate what they've heard at home, which
Yeah.
is fine, whatever, but they have to get a little bit more mature and then they will
Experience things.
and they'll decide for themselves. And our son-in-laws and our son Christian, they all have pretty big opinions
Strong
about
opinions, yeah.
strong opinions about this politics as well, which again is something.
I think most people, whichever side you're on, are pretty sick of it. I mean, everybody's like, this is just a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because I
And-
think
and you got
on most
people, like,
issues, sorry, go ahead.
leaving, migrating as fast as they can away from places like California, New York, because it's just overbearing. And it's just so.
Not
York?
over. I don't know
Yeah.
about New
They're
York.
leaving in. I hadn't heard that.
Well, I've got them. I've been working for them. But
All
Oh, right,
them,
right.
all of them.
so I
I
build
mean,
houses
a
for
few,
people.
for
and
sure.
Yes,
they
a lot of them.
complain. But but you've got, I think it's just like we've said, it's just so divisive. We just need some people to sit down with some common sense and make some choices and decisions that work for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it should be that hard. I pitched an idea to Jill a little bit ago. Like, what if every governmental decision that was made was like jury duty? So they just you select 50 random individuals from across the country, random. Pick them up, fly them wherever it's going on, drop them down. Everybody pitches their idea, what they want to do, and then you let the people help decide in real time, versus just people who, again, are so
Are off the
far
pulse. Yeah.
separated from what's really going on.
Right.
Get their
Right.
opinion.
Right.
Yeah, it would be
I-
fabulous because I think most people really are more middle. I think
Yeah.
I think the rhetoric is really polarized, and I
Totally.
think the positions are polarized. But I think most people are really more moderate, pretty much in the middle. You might be to one side of the middle more than the other, but really, I think most people are in the middle somewhere.
Do you think that's
And
on a
yet-
bell curve? No, I'm not kidding. That would be really interesting. What you're talking about, Kim Michelle, because if that were the case, the possibility, the potentiality of things changing, if you could get that 83 or
Yeah.
86%
Well,
of the
that
bell
would-
curve.
That would actually mean that all the polls are lying about everything.
Well, I
Well,
think
and
that
I
a
don't
lot of
think we
people
can trust
answer
polls anyway, but
right, because I think a lot of people answer to what they think their party respectively, the party
Other things
position
that
there
well,
that they
and-
respectively
And
hold,
think about
and
how,
listen
think
to
about, think about
the
how
way
much,
questions are are phrased. Are
well, I know.
phrased.
But you
on
got to
a
get it.
poll.
Got to
Go
get
ahead.
in, or we don't.
Well,
you
I
don't
was
get a
just-
word in.
I was just
us.
going to say, think about how much harder it's gotten to do polling since we invented these things. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it used to be that you could call somebody at home.
Please don't.
He was holding
Please
up
do
his
not
phone.
Call,
I was holding
call
it.
me.
Well, they could see it. See, look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess they are now.
Yeah.
If they're on the podcast, they can't see that I held it. I held up my phone and I said, "Yeah," because people don't have home phones anymore. So
Yeah,
Right, it is
well-
different.
Polling
Well,
is
they
super
seem
hard.
to get I get spammed
Polling's
all the
hard.
time. I
Exit
want to point
polls.
out a couple things that
Yeah,
are
way off. because
Oh.
people didn't tell the truth.
some Facebook comments.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Appreciate that.
Scott and Austin. Austin talked about how we need an uncensored media and mentioned that Democrats own about 90% of all media. And I don't know for sure if that's the right percentage. And I
I
love
think it's pretty
Scott.
close.
Perhaps what we need, what we have been,
Well,
is a free
I-
and
How
unfettered.
about we talk?
Yeah, I
Let's
think we
ask
gotta
somebody
talk
who
about-
actually
yeah,
knows
I think
that.
we need to talk
Yeah,
about
okay.
that.
What do you think?
Who's in the media
I
for
don't know
20
that I would
years?
Yeah,
say
yeah.
Democrats own 90% of all media. I mean, yeah, there's a larger percent of people who work in journalism who are
More
of
liberal.
a more liberal persuasion. But having spent my career in journalism, I can tell you that day in and day out, most journalists are doing their very best to provide fair and even coverage to the people that they write about.
I would say you're probably maybe right in saying
As,
I
as
towards
an
think-
Utah, but
individual,
I
but what is
think
what about
this
it as
is-
a
this
network?
is-
not across
Yeah.
the
So
board. No.
This is, I think, where a lot of the lines have been blurred since we came up with things like Fox News and CNN. is that you have people on those shows who provide commentary
Right,
that
it's
is
not news.
opinion, that is not news.
Mhm.
And, Sean Hannity doesn't do news. Sean Hannity does opinion.
Right.
And Rachel Maddow doesn't do news. Rachel Maddow provides opinion. And you have networks who have started to cater to those different things. And yes,
Because of their
there's-
numbers.
Because of advertising and numbers.
'Cause it makes
and
money,
clicks.
and-
Clicks make money.
And maybe it seems like there are more left-wing outlets than there are right-wing outlets. But I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of very fair outlets out there. I mean, NPR is, I listen to
BBC.
NPR every day pretty much. And I don't think you'll find a fairer news source, a more middle-of-the-road news source than NPR.
I went
they're-
down that road this last week trying to figure out, because I go back and forth. I try and watch. I actually probably watch more CNN, or I definitely watch NBC in the morning, and I know it feels like they're directed left. Their personal beliefs, and these are the people that are, they're the.
I always want them to tell me what they think because I feel like they
They
just
do
read
tell you
I
what they
don't-
think almost every day, but
Oh,
but
I'm at
but
work.
it feels like it's one way. I try not to watch Fox. I feel Fox tries so hard to try and correct the weight on the left that they overcorrect
On the right.
on the
Yeah,
right,
I think that's
which is disturbing.
a
I'm like,
generous
I'd like
interpretation.
I'd like a little, like you're saying, a more balance. So I did pull up some other stuff, trying to just figure out, okay, because I really do look at things, and I want to be fair about the way I'm looking at things. I want to be reasonable about it. Another thing I mentioned is like Stephen Covey read his book a long time ago, 7 Habits, but it's like we're all born with the natural paradigm of right and wrong. We all know kind of generally when we're born what's right and wrong. Even when somebody is a bad person, I think that they know they're being bad, or
We hope.
we hope. And some people are just crazy. But, I think it's with everything, you're just listening to something and go, this doesn't make sense. It just isn't fair all the way around. It's not balanced. It
fit.
doesn't, yeah. And so, again, going back to our original conversation about the Martha's Vineyard thing, I'm going, it doesn't seem fair that they would take these poor immigrants and send them to Martha's Vineyard, which would be a vacation for any of us. And it was for them, I'm sure. But it seems unfair, and somebody's complaining about it because it's unjust to them. When in reality, if you just sit back and look at it in all fairness, you're like, it wasn't horrible for them, and everybody got an idea of what's going on in the world because of it. It didn't treat them poorly.
Okay,
Or-
so I'm gonna have to say something about that, just because
Here we go.
but just because
But this is a civil
I think-
discourse, right?
Yeah.
This is what we
Yeah.
do.
The Humane Society.
right, I think that there are two ways that you kind of can approach the world, and one is that the means justify the ends. So as long as the end I can define as a good thing, then how I get to the end is okay, as long as the end benefits people. There's another that says, no, the mean is a mean. It's an end in and of itself. I think people are an end in and of themselves. Because they exist, they are. They're a good just because they are. And to use them as a means, even if what you achieve at the end is something good for a certain segment of the population, to me, that's not good.
Well, do you think if those people understood that what they were doing was going to shine a light on the situation that's happening at the border and what we should do, like let's solve problems now? DeSantis probably isn't doing it for all of the right reasons, but the people who got to see what was happening can help make decisions that make it a good decision. That made it a good.
We
If
can't
they
decide
would-
that
this
for
is-
them.
If they'd
This
had a
is-
choice, they didn't.
This is,
Right.
I think, the problem with saying that Ron DeSantis did a good thing by shining the spotlight on this situation is that Ron DeSantis just sent immigrants to Martha's Vineyard and then didn't say, this is what we need to do to fix the problem.
Right.
Ron DeSantis doesn't have a plan. Ron DeSantis isn't doing this to shed light on his amazing comprehensive immigration reform plan. He doesn't have one. Ron DeSantis did this to gin up his base and to prepare himself to run for president. That's why Ron DeSantis did this. And even if that were Ron DeSantis's ultimate goal, and he had said at the end of the day, I'm sending these people to Martha's Vineyard. Oh, and by the way, here's my 500-page comprehensive immigration reform package that I think we should pass. Then
help
that's a
these
whole different conversation than just some kind of stunt with no thought and no plan.
I agree, but I understand what you're saying. At the same time, we've got 5 people right here talking about it on a podcast that almost everybody listens to. Our one
Almost,
listener
yeah.
is fantastic.
Our-
Thank
well,
you.
All our
Thanks,
listener.
Scott.
All our-
Our 3 listeners tonight.
3
Yeah.
listeners tonight. Thank you, guys. No,
I
but
could
what
have
if
talked
there's
about
50 of these
immigration
people?
without that.
If there's 50 people out there, but we wouldn't have. It's there now.
I do all the time.
Okay, but right now we're talking about it, and if there's another 50 people with 5 people talking about it, they're going to talk to 5 other people the next day that are going to talk to 5 other people. Maybe the solution comes out. You know, we
Well-
tried to come up with a plan today, or at least we thought we're talking about some options, and that it's obviously not going to happen at the governmental level because they're too divided. But we're not. We're here to talk about this to help.
So we have to start
Right.
voting for people who have plans.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what at the end of the day that's
Real
what we
plans,
need to do.
not just
And
vote against
that's-
them, but vote for something,
And
not
here's-
just against something.
Here's the other thing. You know, how many people who have all of these horrible negative things to say about issues are actually out there trying to figure it out themselves, or trying to support, or trying to get the word out, or trying to offer aid, or where is, I mean, when are these people going to put their
Money where their mouth
money
is.
where their mouth is? And I don't
Well,
even mean money. I mean volunteer,
The-
support.
Well, and so that brings 2 things.
How do you get
I, I have 2 things.
Rick, in case you're watching,
I have
And
2
don't
things to
interrupt
talk
her
about.
after thing 1. Let
Yeah,
her
because
finish
I
with
will
thing
remember.
2.
I
She'll
remember.
remember.
I'm going to struggle remembering the 2 things. 2 things. I love that you are passionate as a citizen and
Heck
Yeah.
wanted to have a conversation
Heck yeah.
For sure.
about this,
'Cause
and you
so
want to
few.
talk. You want to figure this out.
Yep.
And we need to.
100%.
And the second thing is, what are some things we can do? We can vote. We can vote for policies. We can vote for people who have plans. and-
add an A to that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Here's one
For
thing.
my-
Number 1, and the addition to that is know what you're voting for and vote not on rhetoric, not on
Political line.
political line,
Uh-huh.
not
Or-
on what you've
or
heard other people talking
attractiveness.
about. Yeah. Have you done the work yourself? Have you looked
And-
yourself? Have you investigated it yourself?
Yeah, and done so through more sources than just
What pops up on your phone?
the political source that's on your side. Like if you've listened, I love that you listen to CNN.
I do too.
I wish more Republicans listen to CNN. And I wish more Democrats listen to
Listen to
Fox
Fox.
News.
Just to see,
To
hear
see what-
something.
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
You gotta
It's
hear
to
it.
know what
the
the
other
other
side.
side is saying.
Right.
you can't be informed and not
Right.
do that
Yeah.
because you're getting fed
Yeah.
information.
Well, it's the biggest echo chamber you could get stuck in.
yeah,
Right.
Really. And then when you when you eliminate people
Once you get
on
on the
your
rabbit hole.
feeds that have a different opinion from you, you're narrowing your echo chamber, the exit to your echo chamber even more. And
Yeah.
you're stuck in there and just bouncing around here in the same
which
thing.
which is why I love, and Patty has a second thing that we didn't get to, but it's why I like talking with you guys, because we're not on the same page all the time,
right.
but at least we can have a conversation.
Heck yeah.
And I came in here with the idea that came to talk with you guys tonight about this, to go, okay, change my mind,
Help me,
or
help
help
me.
me get somewhere in the
Right.
middle of this whole
Yeah.
thing, and I really did. So, and thank you for the
Well,
opportunity.
but I like hearing on the other side too. So thanks, Riley.
Okay,
So
Patty.
besides voting, what can we do?
what was thing 2?
That was, what can we do?
Oh, that was thing 2.
How do we put our money where our mouths are? Like if I want to personally do something for immigration,
Volunteer.
volunteer.
That's the other thing that you can do is,
Hey, you know what we could do?
you can vote and then you can volunteer for somebody's campaign.
We
I
could
mean,
go down to Texas and get 150 people and fly them to Martha's Vineyard, and there would be no political gain.
It would
And
just
then we could go to Martha's
for
Vineyard.
And we would go too.
You should for sure do that, because then we'll have more than one viewer on our next podcast. after they do that.
Oh,
So
the
yeah,
plan is
that
so
would
illegal
be-
immigration, the way you
that
do
would
that
be
is
awesome.
to
Yes,
instead
thank
of
you.
just come here, no free schooling, no,
I think the other thing you can do is that you can be committed to educating yourself on issues. I think you can
Correct.
not be afraid to be in discourse with people
Mm-hmm.
and do it in a humane, civil kind of way, and appreciate that it really is the differences in the conversation that get lost in the big political scheme of things, where you're either here or you're here.
Yep.
But in actuality, most of us are here.
In the human
So
section,
let's
where we
talk-
want people to be
yes.
okay, and we want people to get school, and we want
Yes.
people to have health care, and we want people to live in a safe place where they are not afraid for their freaking lives. So, you know what,
All
illegal or
people.
not, you know what, people, I would hope you would take me in as well. I would hope you would take me in
If
as
I'm
well.
in
If I were
harm's way.
stuck like
Mhm.
that, I would hope that you would bring us in and you would say, here, let's get your young kids in school. Here, let's make sure you get some immunizations so that we can make sure that as a herd, we're all healthy. Fix illegal immigration. It's bigger than that.
Well, and I want to say, to Todd's comment here, I understand that he was just out of the country for a while, and so being out of the country, there were a lot of things they had to do to get to that country, and maybe we don't have all those things in place here, but I don't know. I don't care.
Well,
I feel like we just
we
need
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 as a
humans.
country, we need immigrants. I mean, there's
So-
a reason why
Yeah.
Panda Express is paying my kid $18 an hour
Right.
to wash dishes. And the reason is that we don't have enough
workforce.
unskilled labor.
Right.
Well,
in
More-
this country.
one, our
more
kids
migrant
don't
vi-
really want.
visas.
Most of them don't want to work, so they're able to get
I
high
think
paid
if you-
jobs
if you
because
got
don't
every
think
high
that's
school
They're
kid
trying to
out
get 'em
there
off the
work,
couch,
Yeah, I don't
right?
think if you got every high school kid out there to go to work, that we'd still not be paying $18 an hour.
You
No,
guys, I don't,
but-
I don't
and that
agree
contributes
with
to
that, though.
inflation. So if we can get
Here's-
more people to
I
come
don't.
to the
One
country,
No.
we
I'm
handle
gonna.
inflation.
No. I'm gonna disagree there. It is not most teenagers. I work every day with teenagers, and almost all of my teenagers at school
Are
have a
working.
job.
Yeah.
So I take complete issue with the fact that we have to get kids off the couch. We have to get kids off their phones, and I feel like that when they're at work, they should be off their phones too. But that's just
Oh,
me.
so that's driving. Like we got to get them stop. We got to get them out of the car so they'll stop texting
something.
and on their phone.
But I'm telling you what, the majority of my students have jobs.
Yeah.
Here's. wait,
I
wait.
want to say one thing to that really quick. Sorry.
Not to
I'm
that
sorry.
Go ahead.
My
This
kids
is
had
number 3.
jobs. I know, but this is a new segment, so
Okay.
it's my one.
Number
There you
1.
go.
2 things. My kids had jobs in high school,
They did.
and I loved it. They should have. I thought it was great for them. But I coached cheerleaders for 17 years, and my best, most responsible, organized, on time kids that had good grades had jobs because they had to organize their time.
Yep.
And I was always for, get a job.
Actually, I want my students to work less, because they're working till like
Well, that's
Yes.
true
11,
too.
that's
12 o'clock
that-
at night.
that's
and
problematic.
then
Here's
That is problematic.
and that's so true, Kim Michelle, because I mean, as teachers, we wish that they could get homework time in, right?
Yeah.
And my comment about my kids are working, that's just so that people out there understand that
They're not all.
teenagers
It's
aren't
not an
just,
easy conversation.
easy
because things
conversation.
aren't the same. I mean, we live in a landlocked state, which is very different than a border state. So how we interpret what's going on is very different than what you're seeing in
A border state.
in a border state, right? So that's part of the conversation too, was that we have to be willing to expand out of our own sphere of what benefits us personally and what we see personally into the bigger scheme of things. And then I really hope that the conversation is really around, regardless of nationality, regardless of any artificial border that exists, then you happen to be born on one side or the other by luck or whatever, that we see each other as humans living in a human experience.
Yes.
And that what grace we give them, we would want others to give to us somewhere along the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that at that level, we could create solution, but we've got to be really committed to that resolve. And that means we've got to be active in areas that may feel uncomfortable to us, like in the political arena.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, volunteer in the political
Yep.
arena that aligns with our
Yeah. Knock
Ideas.
doors. And
Yep.
and not only can you vote, but you can make sure that 10 other people get to the
Yep.
polls too. I mean, volunteer to drive people who can't.
Yeah.
You know, volunteer and go to the nursing home and pick up people and take them to the polls.
Yep.
right.
I think that's illegal.
No, it's not.
Hey guys, jump in.
I think it would be
We're
illegal
going
if you
down.
like if
It's
you
a
told them
free
I'll
ride.
give you $50
It's
if
a
you
free
vote
ride.
for this
We're
guy.
going to give you some cherry
and some food.
yeah,
pie.
ice cream. Yeah.
ice cream.
It's
Come
not
on.
illegal to give people a ride to the polls.
Yeah.
Well,
So don't think it is. If you put somebody in your car to give them a lift, don't think that you're going to be arrested.
Just don't tell them who to vote for.
Unless
don't
you
tell
do
me.
Right,
something
exactly.
naughty.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
guys, I'm so
Welcome.
appreciative of this.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's
Yeah.
been
Thank you.
great. We've
If-
appreciated
if
the conversation.
anything, we hope we made you think about
Yeah.
something, maybe that a side or an option or a plan or just
Whether you agree or disagree, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Think about it.
think about it and
Yeah.
think about humans as
Yeah.
humans.
Think
Yeah,
about humans
yeah.
and check your source.
Yeah. Yeah. So have a great evening.
Thank
And we will
you.
see you.
Thank you, Judd.
Couple of
Thank
weeks.
you,
Yes,
Riley.
thank
Yeah.
you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
guys.
And
Yeah.
Scott,
Thanks
next
for having us.
time
Yeah.
you'll
Miss you,
join
Scott.
us.
Miss you, Scott.
Okay.
Thank
Talk to
you,
you later.
Scott.
Great day to
Bye.
talk.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to It's a Great Day to Talk. Be sure to follow and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform.
And until next week,
Get out there and talk.
This has been a production from a podcast studio.